Today, the jury in New York City's most famous trial of the moment, Sean Diddy Combs, viewing real-life footage of the infamous sex parties known as freak-offs, described by the defense as consensual encounters, but by the prosecution as something far more sinister. Combs denies all charges. And just a warning, this story contains accounts, descriptions, and visual content of actual or alleged events that some may find disturbing. Here's Nightline co-anchor Byron Pitts.
When money and fame collide with the law, the truth becomes a battleground. Few phrases capture the storm swirling around Sean Diddy Combs, the iconic music mogul whose empire stretches across hip-hop, fashion, and business. Now Diddy faces some of the most serious charges any celebrity has ever confronted: sex trafficking and racketeering. The allegations shock a nation, tearing the veil off the glamorous lifestyle to reveal a chilling narrative of power and alleged exploitation. As the trial unfolds, the stakes couldn't be higher. Diddy, a figure once celebrated for shaping music culture and amassing a multi-billion-dollar fortune, now finds himself at the center of a legal firestorm that threatens not only his freedom, but also his legacy. The courtroom has become a theater where every word, every gesture is scrutinized by millions watching across the country. The media frenzy has transformed the trial into a national spectacle, sparking debates about justice, celebrity influence, and the dark undercurrents of the entertainment industry. This case is more than just a legal battle. It is a collision of wealth, influence, and the pursuit of truth. Inside the courtroom, the drama is intense, with prosecutors unveiling detailed evidence aimed at exposing a complex criminal network. The defense, meanwhile, is mounting a vigorous fight to dismantle the accusations and protect their client's name. Outside the courtroom, public opinion sways between disbelief and outrage, reflecting the deep divisions in society's views on accountability for the rich and powerful. In the chapters ahead, we will delve into the intricate details of the charges, the key players involved, and the wider implications of this trial. This is a story of how fame can both elevate and endanger, and how the search for justice can expose uncomfortable truths lurking behind the spotlight. What exactly is Diddy accused of, and why is this case so explosive? This question lies at the heart of a legal battle that has gripped the nation. At the center of the storm are two serious charges: sex trafficking and racketeering. But what do these accusations really mean, and why has this trial sent shockwaves far beyond the courtroom? Sex trafficking, in simple terms, involves recruiting, harboring, or transporting people, often through force, fraud, or coercion, for the purpose of commercial sexual exploitation. Prosecutors allege that Diddy, along with others, orchestrated a vast scheme where vulnerable individuals were exploited under the guise of opportunity and fame. The accusation paints a dark picture of a network that allegedly manipulated aspiring models, performers, and others, using their positions of power to traffic people for profit and personal gain. Racketeering, meanwhile, refers to running an illegal business or scheme. In this case, it's alleged that Diddy's operations extended beyond music and branding, involving criminal enterprises designed to facilitate and cover up these trafficking activities. The charges suggest a coordinated, systematic effort rather than isolated incidents, implicating a larger conspiracy that threatens to unravel a complex web of influence. Why does this trial matter so much? Because it isn't just about one man, no matter how famous or wealthy he is. It shines a harsh spotlight on the entertainment industry as a whole, an industry often criticized for its opaque power dynamics and culture of silence. The allegations raise uncomfortable questions about how far some will go to protect their empires, and how victims within the system are frequently overlooked or silenced. For years, whispers of exploitation and abuse have circulated within celebrity circles, but few cases have reached this level of public scrutiny. This trial could set a precedent, signaling that no one is above the law, regardless of their fame or fortune. It forces a reckoning with the darker realities behind the glitz and glamour, challenging an industry built on image and influence to face accountability. As the courtroom drama unfolds, the nation watches not only to see the fate of Sean Diddy Combs, but to witness whether justice can prevail in a case that touches the core of societal and cultural power structures. The verdict will reverberate far beyond the trial, potentially reshaping how similar cases are handled in the future. When the jury's honesty comes into question, can justice survive? This critical question emerged early in the trial of Sean Diddy Combs, casting a shadow over the proceedings and fueling concerns about the integrity of the judicial process. The focus quickly turned to one juror in particular, juror number 6, whose inconsistent statements threatened to undermine the very foundation of the trial. Juror number 6, initially seen as a straightforward participant in the trial, soon became a source of controversy. Reports revealed that this juror had provided conflicting information regarding his residency and personal background. On official court forms, he claimed to live in one county, but evidence suggested otherwise. Additionally, discrepancies arose about his occupation and affiliations. While these details might seem minor on the surface, they carry significant legal weight. Why does lying about residency and personal information matter so much in a trial? The jury selection process, known as voir dire, is designed to ensure an impartial and representative panel. Jurors are required to meet specific eligibility criteria, including residency requirements, to guarantee they are part of the community where the trial is held. Providing false information during this process is not just a procedural misstep. It can constitute perjury or obstruction of justice. If a juror is found to have lied to secure a seat on the jury, it calls into question their impartiality and the legitimacy of the verdict they help reach. The judge overseeing the case did not take these revelations lightly. Expressing deep concern, the judge warned that any breach of honesty by a juror could amount to jury tampering or bias, both serious offenses that can derail a trial. Jury tampering refers to efforts, direct or indirect, to influence jurors outside the courtroom, something strictly prohibited and punishable by law. Even unintentional dishonesty can create a perception of unfairness, jeopardizing the credibility of the entire process. In response, the judge ordered a thorough investigation into juror number 6's background and statements. Attorneys from both sides weighed in, with the defense arguing that any irregularities could prejudice the jury against their client, while prosecutors emphasized the need to uphold the integrity of the trial above all else. The tension inside the courtroom was palpable, as this unexpected controversy threatened to delay proceedings and cast doubt on the eventual outcome. As the trial presses forward, the situation with juror number 6 serves as a reminder that in high-profile cases, every detail matters, and that the pursuit of justice depends not only on evidence and arguments, but also on the honesty and fairness of those entrusted to decide the fate of the accused. Can a defendant's courtroom actions influence the outcome and cost them their right to be present? In the highly charged trial of Sean "Diddy" Combs, this question has become a pressing concern. Allegations have emerged that Diddy may have crossed a critical legal boundary by attempting to communicate subtly with jurors during the proceedings, a move that not only risks undermining the fairness of the trial, but could also threaten his right to remain present in the courtroom. Multiple witnesses and court observers have noted instances where Diddy appeared to engage in nonverbal communication directed toward jurors. These included persistent nodding, deliberate eye contact, and other subtle gestures that prosecutors argue were intended to influence jury members. While such actions might seem innocuous to an outsider, the courtroom is a place governed by strict rules designed to preserve impartiality and prevent any form of coercion or undue influence. Why is this behavior illegal? The legal system demands that jurors base their verdict solely on the evidence and arguments presented during the trial, free from outside influence or pressure, especially from the defendant. Any attempt by a defendant to communicate with jurors, whether verbal or nonverbal, is considered a direct violation of court protocol. This is to ensure the jury's independence, prevent intimidation, and maintain the integrity of the judicial process. The presiding judge has issued stern warnings to Diddy and his legal team about this behavior. The judge emphasized that while defendants have the right to be present and participate in their trials, this right is conditional upon their adherence to courtroom decorum and legal boundaries. Repeated attempts to influence jurors can be seen as contempt of court, potentially resulting in sanctions. One of the most severe consequences for such misconduct is removal from the courtroom. Although rare, the court can bar a defendant from attending parts or all of their trial if their behavior jeopardizes the fairness of the proceedings. Removal could drastically impact Diddy's ability to hear and respond to testimony, cross-examine witnesses, and work with his attorneys, critical components of his defense. Additionally, being excluded from the courtroom may negatively sway public perception, and even the jury, who might interpret removal as an admission of guilt or disrespect for the process. This emerging tension adds another dramatic layer to an already explosive trial. It raises important questions about the balance between a defendant's rights and the need for an impartial, undisturbed trial environment. As the courtroom drama unfolds, all eyes remain fixed on whether Diddy will curb these alleged behaviors or face consequences that could dramatically alter the course of his defense. When evidence is questioned, can the trial be trusted or should it start over? This question lies at the heart of the defense's aggressive push for a mistrial in the high-profile case against Sean Diddy Combs. As the prosecution builds its case, the defense team has fired back with serious allegations of prosecutorial misconduct, false evidence, and witness perjury, moves that could potentially unravel the entire trial. Central to the defense's argument is a controversial incident involving a security balcony overlooking the courtroom. According to defense attorneys, the prosecution improperly accessed sensitive materials and witnesses during a break, violating court orders meant to ensure a fair trial. The defense contends that this breach compromised the integrity of the evidence presented and could have influenced witness testimony. While details remain under scrutiny, the balcony incident has become a focal point for claims that the prosecution engaged in tactics beyond the bounds of acceptable legal conduct. Another pillar of the defense's mistrial motion centers on travel records used as key evidence. Prosecutors introduced flight logs and travel itineraries, aiming to place Diddy in locations relevant to the alleged crimes. The defense challenges the accuracy and authenticity of these records, arguing that some entries were either fabricated or manipulated to fit the prosecution's narrative. They claim that this false evidence misleads the jury and prejudices the case against their client. Moreover, the defense has accused certain witnesses of perjury, knowingly giving false testimony under oath. They argue that some prosecution witnesses changed their stories or contradicted prior statements, raising doubts about their credibility. These accusations suggest a broader pattern of unreliable evidence, which the defense says undermines the entire prosecution case. So, what does a mistrial actually mean? In legal terms, a mistrial is a trial that is invalid due to a fundamental error or serious misconduct during proceedings. It can result from procedural mistakes, juror issues, or the introduction of inadmissible evidence, among other reasons. If granted, a mistrial essentially resets the case, requiring it to be tried again from the beginning with a new jury. This can delay justice, prolong public scrutiny, and increase costs, but it also serves as a safeguard to ensure fairness. For the defense, requesting a mistrial now is a strategic move aimed at halting what they believe is a deeply flawed process. They argue that continuing the trial under these circumstances would deny their client a fair chance at justice. By spotlighting alleged prosecutorial overreach and evidence problems, they seek to cast doubt on the trial's legitimacy and pressure the court to start fresh. The prosecution, on the other hand, denies these claims and insists that all procedures were followed appropriately. They warn that granting a mistrial could be seen as an attempt to avoid accountability and derail the judicial process. As the judge weighs these competing arguments, the future of the trial hangs in the balance. Will the court side with the defense and call for a new trial? Or will it reject the motion and allow the case to proceed toward a verdict? The answer could shape not only Diddy's fate, but also the public's faith in the justice system's ability to handle cases involving powerful figures. In the battle for truth, the judge holds the power to shape the trial. This has never been clearer than in the ongoing legal saga of Sean Diddy Combs, where the judge's decisions have become pivotal in steering the trial through stormy waters. After the defense's dramatic push for a mistrial, the judge delivered a decisive ruling that denied the request, signaling a firm stance on maintaining the trial's momentum. The defense had argued that prosecutorial misconduct, questionable evidence, and witness inconsistencies compromised the fairness of the proceedings. However, the judge concluded that these issues did not reach the level necessary to warrant a mistrial. Instead, the judge emphasized that it is ultimately the jury's responsibility, not the court's, to evaluate the credibility of witnesses and the reliability of evidence. This distinction is crucial in the legal process. Judges manage the courtroom and ensure rules are followed, but the jury weighs the facts and determines guilt or innocence. To address concerns about specific testimonies, the judge took the proactive step of striking certain statements from the record when they were deemed inadmissible or prejudicial. This action serves to protect the integrity of the trial by preventing the jury from considering information that could unfairly bias their judgment. Striking testimony does not erase it from public knowledge, but it legally excludes it from influencing the verdict. By denying the mistrial, the judge sent a clear message that the trial would proceed on its merits, despite the defense's claims. This decision preserves the prosecution's ability to present its case and prevents costly delays that a new trial would entail. For prosecutors, this ruling is a validation of their efforts and an opportunity to reinforce the strength of their evidence and witnesses. The impact of these rulings on the trial's progress is significant. The denial of the mistrial means the courtroom drama will continue without interruption, allowing both sides to focus on their strategies as the trial moves toward its climax. It also places greater pressure on the defense to adapt and respond within the existing framework rather than seeking procedural resets. At the same time, the judge's careful management of testimony helps maintain a balance between safeguarding the defendant's rights and ensuring the jury receives a fair and impartial presentation of the facts. This balancing act is essential in high-profile cases where media attention and public opinion can complicate legal proceedings. As the trial continues, all eyes remain on the jury, tasked with the heavy burden of sifting through the evidence, testimony, and legal arguments to reach a verdict. The judge's rulings have reinforced the principle that justice is a deliberative process, one that requires patience, scrutiny, and respect for the rule of law. In this high-stakes courtroom battle, the judge's authority shapes the path forward, reminding everyone involved that the pursuit of truth depends as much on procedural fairness as it does on the evidence itself. When evidence disappears, suspicion rises. Coincidence or cover-up? This question has become a pivotal point of contention in the trial of Sean Diddy Combs. One particularly perplexing issue involves the destruction of crucial fingerprint evidence related to a separate but connected case, the Kid Cudi arson investigation, which the defense has seized upon to challenge the prosecution's credibility and suggest possible foul play. The destroyed fingerprints were collected by investigators during the Kid Cudi arson probe, a case entangled with allegations linked to Diddy's network. These prints were thought to hold the key to verifying movements and connections central to the broader accusations against the defendant. However, in a startling development, it was revealed that this fingerprint evidence was destroyed under unclear circumstances, leaving a gaping hole in the prosecution's case. The defense quickly seized on this disappearance, arguing it was no mere accident or bureaucratic oversight. They claimed the destruction raises red flags of intentional tampering, an attempt to conceal exculpatory evidence or obstruct justice. According to the defense, the missing fingerprints could have provided crucial proof that might have exonerated Diddy, or at least cast significant doubt on the prosecution's narrative. This argument fuels a broader narrative of mistrust, suggesting that the evidence management in the case has been compromised, casting a shadow over the integrity of the entire investigation. For the prosecution, the destruction of the fingerprint evidence is a frustrating setback, but they vehemently deny any wrongdoing. Prosecutors maintain that the loss was an unfortunate procedural error, a result of standard evidence handling protocols or administrative mistakes, not a deliberate act to mislead the court. They emphasize that despite this gap, the remaining evidence, including witness testimonies, travel records, and communications, provides a robust and compelling case against the defendant. Faced with these conflicting claims, the judge took steps to manage the impact of the destroyed evidence on the jury. In a critical instruction, the judge advised jurors to disregard any testimony or arguments that speculated about the destroyed fingerprints beyond what was directly supported by evidence. This directive aimed to prevent the jury from being swayed by conjecture or assumptions about potential misconduct, focusing instead on the facts that remain available for consideration. Nonetheless, the destroyed fingerprint evidence has become a lightning rod for controversy, amplifying existing tensions between the defense and prosecution. It raises profound questions about evidence preservation in high-profile cases and the potential consequences when key materials go missing. For observers and participants alike, it is a stark reminder of the fragility of the justice process and how crucial transparency and proper handling of evidence are to maintaining public trust. As the trial moves forward, the mystery of the vanished fingerprints will continue to haunt the proceedings, influencing strategies on both sides. Whether it represents a tragic coincidence or something more sinister, this lost evidence remains a symbol of the unpredictable challenges faced in the quest for truth and justice in one of the most watched trials in recent memory. Behind closed doors, what was found may change everything. This chilling reality took center stage when federal agents executed a dramatic raid on Sean Diddy Combs' Miami mansion, uncovering a trove of evidence that prosecutors say could be a game-changer in their case. The raid, authorized as part of the ongoing investigation, was meticulously planned and carried out with the intent to uncover tangible proof linking Diddy to the alleged criminal activities under scrutiny. Agents swept through the sprawling estate, seizing numerous items that immediately raised eyebrows and bolstered the prosecution's narrative. Among the most significant findings were quantities of illegal drugs, including controlled substances that prosecutors argue tie into the broader allegations of racketeering and trafficking. The presence of these drugs is said to support claims that Diddy's network was involved in more than just music and entertainment. It was allegedly a front for illicit and dangerous operations. In addition to narcotics, the raid uncovered several firearms, some reportedly unregistered, along with ammunition and suspicious paraphernalia. These weapons not only raise questions about possible violations of gun laws, but also suggest an environment of intimidation and potential violence, elements that prosecutors argue are consistent with the coercive tactics allegedly used to control victims and silence dissent within the trafficking ring. The seized items also included financial documents, digital devices, and communications equipment, all of which are being examined to trace the flow of money and messages connected to the criminal enterprise. This evidence is crucial for prosecutors aiming to establish patterns of coordination and conspiracy that link Diddy directly to the alleged crimes. For the prosecution, the raid and the evidence recovered provide powerful, concrete material to complement witness testimonies and previous documentation. It paints a picture of a lifestyle in operation that contrasts sharply with Diddy's public persona as a music mogul and entrepreneur. Prosecutors argue that these findings expose the hidden underbelly of his empire, a network allegedly built on exploitation, manipulation, and illegal dealings. The defense, predictably, has challenged the legality and handling of the raid, arguing that some evidence may have been obtained improperly or is being misrepresented. They maintain that Diddy's innocence remains intact and that the seized items do not prove involvement in the specific charges at hand. As investigators continue to comb through the materials, the new evidence from the Miami mansion raid promises to play a crucial role in shaping the trial's outcome. It underscores the complex layers of the case, reminding everyone involved that behind the glitter of fame, serious allegations and unsettling realities are at play, realities that may finally come to light in the courtroom. Beyond the headlines are real people seeking justice. In the whirlwind of media coverage surrounding Sean Diddy Combs' trial, it's easy to get lost in the drama of courtroom battles and legal technicalities. But at the heart of this case are individuals whose lives have been deeply affected, victims and witnesses bravely stepping forward to share their stories in search of truth and accountability. Among the key figures is Cassie Ventura, a well-known singer and former model who has emerged as a crucial witness. Her testimony has brought a deeply personal and emotional dimension to the trial, providing a window into the experiences of those allegedly caught in the web of exploitation. Cassie's account, marked by moments of vulnerability and courage, has resonated beyond the courtroom, reminding the public that this case is not just about celebrity or scandal. It's about real trauma and resilience. Other witnesses and alleged victims have also taken the stand, recounting their struggles with exploitation, coercion, and fear. Their testimonies reveal a disturbing pattern of manipulation within the industry, where promises of fame and fortune mask darker intentions. These moments often bring the courtroom to a hush, as jurors and observers confront the human cost behind the legal arguments. The emotional weight of these stories is palpable. Witnesses have described the difficulty of speaking out, fearing retaliation or disbelief, especially when their alleged abuser wields significant power and influence. Their courage to come forward despite the intense scrutiny and public exposure underscores the complexity of seeking justice in cases intertwined with fame and fortune. Yet, amid this fight for acknowledgement and justice, victims often face additional battles, being heard fairly amid the noise of legal wrangling, media sensationalism, and defense strategies aimed at discrediting them. The courtroom becomes both a platform for their voices and a challenging arena where their credibility is relentlessly tested. The human impact extends beyond individual stories. It highlights broader societal issues about how vulnerable people can be exploited and silenced, and how difficult it can be to dismantle entrenched systems of abuse. The trial shines a spotlight on the urgent need for reforms in how such cases are handled and how victims are supported throughout the process. As the trial continues, these voices remain central to the search for justice. Their testimonies serve as a powerful reminder that behind every allegation and legal motion are lives forever changed, and a collective hope that the truth will ultimately prevail. It is through acknowledging this human impact that the case transcends celebrity headlines and becomes a meaningful reckoning with accountability and healing. What this trial reveals about an industry long shrouded in secrecy. While the courtroom drama surrounding Sean Diddy Combs commands national attention, the implications of this case reach far beyond one individual. It lays bare systemic issues that have long plagued the entertainment industry, a world where power, money, and influence often operate behind closed doors, shielding wrongdoing from scrutiny. At the heart of the charges against Diddy is a broader cultural context marked by exploitation and silence. For decades, powerful figures in music and entertainment have allegedly used their positions to manipulate and control vulnerable individuals, often with little fear of consequences. The mechanisms of fame and ambition create fertile ground for abuse, as aspiring artists and employees may feel compelled to comply with questionable demands to advance their careers. This trial exposes how networks of influence and intimidation can protect those at the top. The allegations of sex trafficking, racketeering, and coercion point to an ecosystem where illicit activities are not isolated incidents, but part of an entrenched culture. Some industry insiders have whispered about these practices for years, but fear of retaliation or damage to reputations kept many silent. Now those walls of silence are beginning to crack. The case's high-profile nature brings renewed attention to calls for accountability and reform. If the prosecution succeeds, it could signal a turning point, demonstrating that no one, regardless of fame or fortune, is above the law. It could empower more victims to come forward and encourage industry leaders to implement stronger protections against exploitation. Moreover, the trial prompts reflection on how entertainment companies and regulatory bodies handle allegations internally. It raises questions about transparency, oversight, and the need for independent investigations when accusations arise. The public is watching closely to see if the justice system can hold powerful figures accountable where industry mechanisms have historically fallen short. Ultimately, this case is a watershed moment. It challenges the long-standing culture of secrecy and impunity within the entertainment world and highlights the importance of structural change. The outcome may well set precedents for how similar cases are approached in the future, shaping not just legal standards but the very ethos of the industry. As the trial continues to unfold, its impact will resonate beyond the courtroom, reverberating through the halls of power, influencing public discourse, and hopefully sparking meaningful change for those who have been silenced for too long. As the courtroom drama unfolds, public opinion divides sharply. The trial of Sean Diddy Combs has ignited a firestorm of discussion across social media platforms and mainstream news outlets, with reactions ranging from fierce support to outright condemnation. The intense scrutiny reflects not only the case's high-profile nature, but also the deep divisions in how the public perceives allegations against celebrities. On social media, hashtags related to the trial trend regularly, with fans rallying behind Diddy and proclaiming his innocence, while others express outrage and demand accountability. The polarized conversations highlight how fame complicates public judgment. Some followers view the trial as a targeted attack on a cultural icon, while critics see it as a necessary reckoning. Mainstream media coverage mirrors this split. Tabloids often focus on sensational elements, the dramatic courtroom exchanges, the star-studded presence, and the shocking allegations, drawing large audiences hungry for intrigue. In contrast, respected news outlets and legal analysts provide more measured examinations, dissecting the legal arguments, evidentiary challenges, and the broader implications of the case. This diversity of coverage helps audiences navigate the complex facts and emotions involved. Legal experts have weighed in extensively, offering varied perspectives on the trial's strengths and weaknesses. Some highlight the difficulties in prosecuting high-profile defendants, noting challenges like jury bias, evidentiary hurdles, and courtroom theatrics. Others emphasize the potential for this case to set important legal precedents, especially regarding charges like racketeering and sex trafficking within the entertainment industry. The media's role in shaping the narrative is undeniable. Coverage influences how the public understands the allegations, the defendant's character, and the justice system's effectiveness. The constant spotlight can sway public opinion, but also risks oversimplifying nuanced legal issues or fostering trial by media. For Diddy and all involved, this environment adds pressure and complexity beyond the courtroom. As the trial progresses, the interplay between media portrayal and public perception will continue to evolve, reminding us that in cases involving celebrity, the fight for truth is not only legal but cultural and social. With the trial far from over, what lies ahead could change everything. As Sean Diddy Combs' courtroom battle continues, all eyes turn to the next crucial phases that will shape the outcome. Upcoming court dates are packed with pivotal testimonies, evidentiary debates, and strategic legal maneuvers from both sides. The prosecution is expected to call more witnesses who may provide further insight into the alleged trafficking network and racketeering activities. Experts in forensic analysis, financial audits, and communications could also play a role in solidifying the narrative prosecutors aim to present. Meanwhile, the defense will likely continue to challenge the credibility of witnesses, scrutinize the prosecution's evidence, and seek to dismantle the case piece by piece. Legal strategies will remain dynamic. The defense may push for motions to exclude contested evidence or file additional requests to dismiss certain charges. The prosecution will strive to counter these moves while maintaining momentum toward a convincing case. Both sides understand that jurors' perceptions could pivot on the strength of closing arguments and how effectively each team presents its version of events. As the trial moves forward, potential outcomes range widely. A conviction could lead to severe penalties for Diddy and signal a powerful message about accountability in the entertainment industry. An acquittal would clear him of all charges, but may leave lingering questions about the allegations and justice for the alleged victims. There's also the possibility of a plea deal, an outcome that could resolve the case more quietly, but might be viewed differently by the public. Beyond the immediate verdict, this trial holds the potential to set important legal precedents. It could influence how racketeering and sex trafficking charges are prosecuted in similar high-profile cases, especially those involving influential figures. The case might also drive reforms in evidence handling, witness protection, and courtroom procedure. In the coming weeks, the courtroom will be a crucible where facts, legal arguments, and human stories collide, each step inching closer to a resolution that could reverberate far beyond this trial. When the powerful face the law, does justice truly have a chance? This trial has laid bare the immense challenges of pursuing fairness when fame and fortune collide with the judicial system. From allegations of sex trafficking and racketeering to courtroom drama involving jury issues, destroyed evidence, and intense media scrutiny, the Sean Diddy Combs case encapsulates the complexities of holding influential figures accountable. We've seen how legal battles unfold, not only through evidence and testimony, but also through procedural fights over mistrials and the judge's rulings. The emotional impact on alleged victims and the broader implications for an industry long cloaked in secrecy highlight the stakes far beyond any single defendant. Yet, this trial also exposes the tensions inherent in a system designed to be impartial but often tested by power imbalances, public opinion, and legal technicalities. The role of media, the influence of celebrity, and the struggle of victims to be heard all intersect in ways that challenge the ideal of equal justice under the law. As the trial continues, the question remains open. Can justice prevail when the defendant is a titan of industry and culture? Will accountability extend beyond headlines and verdicts to bring real change? And how will society reckon with the darker realities behind fame and success? These are questions that transcend this case alone. They compel us to consider what justice truly means in a world where power often shapes outcomes. The answers are still unfolding, but the conversation is more urgent than ever. Your voice matters. Stay informed and engaged. As this high-profile trial unfolds, it's crucial to follow updates closely and understand the complexities behind the headlines. We invite you to share your thoughts respectfully in comments and discussions, helping foster a thoughtful conversation around justice and accountability. Don't miss a moment of this important story. Subscribe or follow for continuing coverage of this case and other justice-related issues. Together, we can stay aware, support truth, and contribute to a more informed and just society.